Hello everyone, my name is Jean-Christophe and today I'm going to teach you how to use try, except, else finally in this Python tutorial. So the try and except statement in Python is a control flow statement that is used for you to handle the errors as they happen in your code. So the idea is that you run a block of code, and if there's an error, you run in something else. And this prevents your code from breaking, because whenever you have like exceptions like this at runtime, you can say that, okay, 1 divided by 0, that you are not allowed to do this, but you want to print 1 divided by 0, then you cannot do a division by 0. So the code will return that error, everything will break, and your code won't be able to process any line that comes after that exception. So in order to handle this, we need to use the try and except statement and return code within it. So we can copy that example that we had and do try. So that's the structure. You do try and then you return except, and you try. There was an error. So we say, okay, if this breaks, then return that error. And in this case, you can see that the code managed to work. So if you were to reprint hello here, it would still execute properly because you wrapped in your error. Whereas if I were to come back here and I wanted to print hello at the end, it would never have printed it. So this is the very basic and powerful thing that try and accept software is. It allows you to prevent whatever, to predict whatever is coming up, and to fix your code so that your code doesn't break when something happens. So if we can also return the name of the exception here, here as exception name. So we could say, okay, there was an error, and we could just return that exception name right there. There was an error, division by 0. If you don't know that this is a division by 0, what you could do is just say exception. So you just say whatever exception you get, then return the name of the exception. So if it's not a division by 0, then in this case, it wouldn't break. So let's say you want to do int hello. In this case, it would return invalid literal base 10. So that's pretty much everything you need to know for most of the use case that you'll get. As you go further into the logic here is you can have this example, and maybe you want to do the exception, and if it works, then so you try and accept, and if it works, just print something else. So there was no error and X. So you could say, okay, if you have this, there is a division error because you cannot do this. But let's say you want to do a real division that works, then you can do 10 divided by 2, and it will see that if it manages to run the code, then else it also will return something that you wanted. So it returns X. There was no error. Next, you can have the finally statement, something that is not used as much as the others, but the finally statement allows you to run code regardless of if there was an exception or not. So one thing you can have is, let's say we have try and except, and we do the 0 division, but we can use the finally keyword, and if there is an error or if there's no error, you write something that uh, try and accept has finished executing. So you can run this. So regardless of if there is an error, if you do 10 divided by 2, you wrote like you can divide by 0, but if we run something, then it will return try and accept. It will always return try and accept as finished execution. You can also use the raise statement. The raise statement is the keyword that is used to raise your own exception in your code. So if you build like code that you know that people are going to use, sometimes you want to actually raise an exception. So let's say today's best TV show, and my best TV show ever is Dawson. Everybody loves Dawson. I don't want to wait. You know that TV show? I don't know. It's really crappy TV show. Uh, but the best TV show, and if best TV show is not equal to How I Met Your Mother, which is actually the best TV show ever, then you raise an exception. So my code is very important here. If people write something that is not exactly what I want, I just raise an exception, and I can throw in whatever exception I want. Like if you just put best TV show equal Dawson, then you raise an exception. This is a dumb answer. And in this case, I've raised my own exception in my code. And this is essentially what the libraries have done for you to know what's going on in the code. So thank you very much. This is over for try, except, and finally. And subscribe to my channel or follow on my website. You'll find a lot of resources for Python for beginners. Thank you very much. See you next time.